If you ever need to track the time you do certain activities, or you are just curious about how you make use of the time in your day, you could try interstitial journaling. I've experimented with this form of journaling, which is sometimes known as keeping a captain's log, on and off for the last year, and I've definitely learnt something from it. It even took an unexpected turn in the last few weeks, and it is morphed into something that I think I might keep on with. I'm Ruby from the Useful Journal. I do in-depth reviews of dot grid journals, including looking at the construction of the journal, and I cover the company's approach to environmental and social responsibility. And occasionally I share with you my creative adventures in all my journals. Some time ago, I was putting together a list of all the different types of journaling and came across this one called interstitial journaling. Interstitial means to occupy the space or time in a segment. So in the context of journaling, it's noting down what you did in a certain time period and keeping track of that the whole day. Or you may just choose to monitor your time during your work day or when you're studying, whenever you think you're going to benefit from understanding how you use your time. Take any notebook. I've used my Stalogy Editors Series half-year dotted notebook. Here's an interesting note. I've realised an interstitial notebook would be far better as a pocket notebook with a soft cover that would literally be able to be carried around in your pocket. This is something supported by Ryder Carroll of the bullet journal method. He actually has switched to using a pocket notebook for his rapid logging, which is his daily logging, for that same reason, because he can stick it in his pocket or his bag, it's easily accessed, and it's just you can sit it on your desk and it doesn't take up as much room. So if I were to keep up this method, and I'm kind of thinking I will because I've seen some benefits, I would probably switch to a pocket journal in future. I have adapted it slightly because this is a notebook that you want to write in constantly. It kind of needed a pen loop, and the Stalogy doesn't have a pen loop. So I have done this rather bodgy arrangement here, which has actually worked quite well in the end, just using washi tape. And then I had a small section of washi tape here that was double-sided, so I stuck washi tape to both sides of it so that it wasn't sticky. And then I put my pen against the spine and just wrapped that around and stuck it down, and then put extra washi tape down to secure it. And it actually works quite well. And the thing is that when I finish this notebook, I can just rip all that off and you won't even know it had been there. So it's a good temporary solution. I don't really care what it looks like because this is not a notebook that is about looks. I am using a Lagami gel pen. Now, two things about this pen. One is three things about this pen. It is super cute. They've got all different animals. This is another one that I recently bought. This is a llama, no problema, and this one just says head in the clouds. One of the reasons I chose this pen is it has a refillable ink. So all you do is this, take that out, and then you can buy these as replacements. This is actually a replacement now. So it says Lagami, We Are Dreamers, erasable pen refill. And that's just giving you a clue to the other thing I like about this is that, a bit like Pilot Friction, it's an erasable pen. It works really well. I use the erasable element quite a lot. And yeah, it erases quite well. When I was tracking my whole day, I would get out of bed in the morning, go to the bathroom, get dressed, and then I would sit down with my journal and rule a line across the top of the page, write down the date, and then I would note what time I got up, basically. I'd then go and prepare my breakfast and my lunch to go to work. I would go to work, drive there, and then once I got to work, I would pull out my notebook and I would note down the few things that had happened in that period of time and what time I started work. I then left the notebook open on my desk, just like it is here, with the pen ready to go, so that I could note down any activity I did, including getting up to make a cup of tea. If you get distracted, and I do all the time, you might pick up your phone to get someone's phone number and then get sidetracked looking at social media, for instance. Note down the time that you started doing that, so the time that you think you got distracted, and then note down the time that you got back to doing the activity that you were supposed to be doing. At the end of the day, the idea is that you can see how much time you've spent working, doom scrolling, getting up to make cups of tea, because that can be a form of distraction if you do it a lot, and you can see when you did it, which is useful for specific activities that we're going to go through in a minute. Don't get too hung up on getting the time exactly right. If you happen to see a clock at around when you started or finished an activity, definitely note down the exact time. If you didn't, but you think it was somewhere in the vicinity of a 10-minute period, just write down that time. You're wanting to get a general idea. You don't need to know that at 3:13 in the afternoon you did something. The only exact time might make a difference is if you have a job where you work on billable time. For instance, you are a lawyer or something like that, and you might even have to bill your time per 6-minute slots. I used to work as an environmental consultant, and we kind of worked to a 15-minute period. So I would note down each 15 minutes that I had worked on a particular project. I've also learnt not to get too upset if I don't finish the day's entries. Sometimes I will start the day and I won't finish it. So there's occasions where I have finished writing in my journal at 10 o'clock in the morning, and then other days I manage to go right through until I go to bed. It just happens that sometimes you get involved in what you're doing, or you might step out of the office. Any number of things can happen, and it just means that your journal won't be handy, or you just won't be focused on filling your journal out. This is not a compulsory activity. You are simply trying to understand how you spend your time. A couple of weeks ago, my dog had to have an operation to remove a cancerous lump from his hip, and he also had a hematoma removed from his ear. I had to give him quite a few different medications with his breakfast in the morning and with his dinner at night. And to make sure that I kept track of what medications I was giving him and when, I would note that down in my interstitial journal. So I would note 8 o'clock in the morning, gave him this tablet and this tablet with this food. For the first couple of days, I also noted when he drank and when he went to the toilet, because I noticed that he wasn't doing that regularly. It was useful information to share with the vet so that they could advise me what was normal, what wasn't normal, and what I needed to act on. Another application could be an athlete who has to keep track of what they eat, drink, their training sessions, their sleep, so that their coach knows what's happening for them and how to rejig their program so that they get more out of it. I hated having to write down how often I was distracted, including getting up to go to the toilet, getting up to get drinks, make cups of tea, wash my dishes, even just to get up to throw something in the bin. Noticing this encouraged me to pull out my Pomodoro app, which I have used in the past, to help me focus a little better. On my iPad, I have a Focus Keeper app. There's lots of different versions. Some of them are called Pomodoro, some of them are called tomato timers. This one is the Focus Keeper app. It is really simple. That starts a 25-minute task, and then you'll see there's 4 focus sessions there. You can change the length of your sessions. I am going to put it back. It does do timer sounds as well. There's my break. You'll see it's marked off 1 now. Back to my task. Let's skip this. Back to my break. Then another break. So it's marked off 2 sessions now. 3 sessions. And this is my 4th session, and it does something different after the 4th session. See, it's switched into a long break, which goes for 25 minutes. So it does that in sets of 4. When that break finishes, it goes back to a new focus session of 4 tasks. The beauty of combining the Pomodoro technique with my interstitial journaling was that I was much more intentional about what I was going to do at work. At the beginning of each 25-minute focus session, I would write down what I intended to do for that 25 minutes, and that meant that I was much more intentional about what I was going to do. I still got to have regular 5-minute breaks to have cups of tea, go to the bathroom. And if I felt my mind beginning to wander during a focus session, I only had to remind myself that I had a 5-minute break coming up and that I could do something then. Earlier this year, I decided to track what I was eating as well. It can be useful to track the time of day that you eat something because I'm a big snacker, so I would be able to tell when I was most likely to snack if I had tracked the time that I was snacking. And I could see things like how long my breaks were between decent meals that might contribute to snacking. And I could also see what else was going on when I chose to snack. So I could see in my interstitial journal that perhaps I'd been having trouble focusing for a while. I'd noted down a few other things that had distracted me, or I was just having trouble getting into the work I was doing at the time. And that led, or at least contributed to, the snacking. I ended up for a short while throwing in an extra column about my expenditure. The main benefit of doing this in an interstitial journal is that you can see what you were doing, same as the food, what you were doing around the time that you were online shopping. Were you just doing it because you were bored, or were you intentionally shopping because you needed something and you had planned to buy it that day? Just recently, I realised that I wanted to start adding in other notes. I had done that periodically through the interstitial journal, and I realised that I was getting into rapid logging territory. If you've ever read about or tried bullet journaling, this term will be familiar to you. Rapid logging is described by Ryder Carroll, the creator of the bullet journal method, as the process of quickly jotting down information in a concise and structured manner with the use of bullets. I've tried bullet journaling before. I've read the bullet journal method, and I incorporate elements of it into my daily journaling, but I have never tried rapid logging before. I've always wanted to, though. Much like we started with the interstitial journal entry, you put your date at the top of the page. Then, as you move through your day, you jot down anything noteworthy. Using a range of bullets helps you to categorize your entries so that when you read back over them, tasks and events and other things like that will stick out. I've chosen them to represent the main things that I note down in my rapid log. The idea is at the end of the day, you look through the things you've done that day and work out what needs to be migrated to another journal, or what you could quickly complete right then, or what you have decided is no longer relevant and you cross that one out. You may switch things into your future log in your other journal. I have a longer term task list in my main journal, so you can migrate them within the same notebook or to other notebooks. The review process is one of the key steps in the bullet journal method. If you're interested in learning more about this, there are a huge number of videos about how to do bullet journaling on YouTube, but obviously start with Ryder Carroll's bullet journal method and his YouTube channel. What I discovered for myself was that I felt a bit confined by interstitial journaling alone, because the focus of that is simply noting down what you did and when. I really like it combined with the rapid logging process, because then I am noting down important times that are relevant. For instance, if you're tracking, you want to keep track of when you eat, because you want to know what a high risk time of day is for snacking for you, then the time's relevant. You might note down time for meetings, things like that. But the rapid logging aspect meant that I could note down things that had occurred to me during the day, thoughts I'd had, things I'd noticed, things I'd learnt, something someone said, something I saw, and I could quickly jot that down in my rapid log and have it recorded, which then meant at the end of the day I could pull back all those things that I had thought was worth remembering. I've never been one to rigidly stick to a system. I always tweak them and make them work for me. If that then leads me to be more productive and happy, then all good. I don't feel like I've failed if I find that my entries have stopped at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I don't beat myself up if 10 times that day I've had to write down that I got distracted, because I will learn something from that. It's also led me to better employ techniques like the Pomodoro method, which I found didn't work that well on its own, but in combination with this rapid log interstitial journal, it did work. And overall, I love experimenting with and learning new journaling techniques, because eventually I pick up little bits and pieces that I mash together and find a system that works best for me. So if interstitial journaling sounds like something that might help you, or you'd like to give rapid logging a go, just do it. If you don't like it, just move on to something else. The other beauty about this method is it doesn't matter what sort of notebook you do it in, because you are just writing, and if it's just with a ballpoint pen, then your choice of journal is unlimited. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and let me know if you've ever tried interstitial journaling and whether it worked for you. See ya!